So here's this discussion that I've been having with friends. Why would aliens and exosolar worlds be like us in any sort of way? I mean, just look at the oxygen saturation, whether you're at sea level or Mount Everest, is at 21% here on Earth. But why would the oxygen levels be the same as us on like another planet out there with intelligent life on it? And you look at that, it's like oxygen, more oxygen, what's that going to do? Well, if it's like 4% higher or 5% lower, or 4% higher, 4% lower, it's going to make you cough and wheeze and suffocate and die. You know, too much oxygen, you're going to be coughing. Too little oxygen, the same fucking thing, you're going to be suffocating and you're going to be like blowing up. If there's too much oxygen, you can get like fatter, your cells are going to expand. But like at 30% oxygen, the carbon in your body would like instantly ignite. So maybe they're not even carbon based, maybe they're silicon based, which a lot of people talk about and have talked about for decades, maybe even centuries. But there's also the idea of phosphorus based creatures, because phosphorus has a lot of bonding points, and arsenic as well. So those could be biological things instead of carbon that it could be based on. And like, we have on average 300 femtomoles of plutonium in our bodies from civilization pollution that we've adjusted to. Well, what if it's like 1,000 more femtomoles because their society is more advanced? Or less femtomoles because their society is more advanced? Less plutonium, more plutonium. They would be poisonous, or we would be poisonous, radioactive. What about arsenic? There's a certain number of molecules of arsenic in the skin, in the body. If it was a milliliter more arsenic, then that alien would be poisonous to us. They would have different kinds of fungus in their feet and in their whole bodies. There's just 200 types of fungus in our feet alone, which could kill them, or their fungus could kill us, or whatever the hell they have instead of fungus. There's different kinds of bacteria in us than in them. That's why movies like War of the Worlds are kind of interesting, because like they come down and the microbes in our water eventually kill them. But why wouldn't they know that the microbes are in the water in the first place if they're an interstellar species with a warp drive? That's what confuses me. And like, people look at like, well, why haven't they contacted us? Well, why would an advanced species that has probably on its own planet had intercontinental divides between a more advanced species like we did when we came over from Europe and met the Native Americans, or met the Africans, and then decimated their societies through viruses and genocide like smallpox, and also, you know, straight up gun fodder. So we know like intercontinental, one part of the species being a little more advanced than the other one by a couple hundred years would decimate their species. So maybe they're waiting for us to shake their hand, so to speak. But we couldn't do that physically. We'd have to send like a hologram or something, because the odds of them having 21% oxygen in their air like Earth is pretty slim to none, if you ask me. Like I said, if it's 30%, you'd explode. All the carbon in your body would convert to carbon monoxide, which means you'd blow up in a puff of cigarette smoke or car exhaust, which would be cool, but you couldn't ever like touch an alien or go on their planet unless you were in a spacesuit of some sort the whole time. And it's not like that they could come and chill with you in your space pod the size of a city, because they would have a different atmosphere. It wouldn't be like Star Trek, where like everybody's humanoid, everybody breathes the same amount of oxygen except this one species called the benzenes, which have a little more benzene in their air. But every species would be that way. And also their lips would be moving differently when the universal translators come on. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I love Star Trek, but it's got a lot of flaws in it. If you look at it from like here to 1987, when the series Next Generation first came on the air, there's a lot of discrepancies between fact and fiction here. Even though I love Star Trek, it's better than Star Wars, where all the creatures look different from humans, but they all look like animals or something like that, or a combination of animals. They're not like plant-based. They're all animal-based, and that's weird to me. They can all breathe the same air, which is weird to me. Planet by planet is not going to have the same amount of uranium in it as us, etc. You know, if you have too much of one element, it's going to be poisonous or it's going to be malnutrition. You know what I mean? It just, the universe is so complex and so varied that it can have many, many different worlds in our galaxy that are just completely fucking different from one another. It would be more like the aliens on Arrival, where the aliens look like these heptapods with 7 arms and breathe a different atmosphere than us and communicate it differently than us by using like an ink splatter thing that conveyed something forwards and backwards in time. That's what I'm saying. Like, their whole society is based on evolution, different factors, different environment. Things would be completely different. They might be mammal funguses for all we know, or plant dogs for all we know, but it wouldn't look like anything that we have here. They would follow geometric things, like how all worlds are circular. They're all spheres. They're not squares. They're not cubes. They're not pyramids. You know what I mean? All planets are spherical that we know about, at least, because of gravitation and stuff like that, how planets form. It always creates a sphere because it's the most logical shape geometrically to form within those factors. And you go down and suddenly you're suffocating to death. So we got to be real careful about that sort of thing when we go to other worlds.